So welcome everybody again. We have a smaller amount of people in the meeting, most likely because today is just a meeting of the West Turlock Subbasin GSA Technical Advisory Committee. So welcome everybody. All the same stuff typically applies from previous meetings we are using Zoom. People are familiar with it. That's a good thing. But if you have difficulties, feel free to reach out to me and I'll do my best to assist you as the administrator for this call / virtual meeting. And then also we'll have public comment period if anyone wishes to make public comment that's not part of the tax staff or membership. And we're recording the meeting right now, and we'll post it up as soon as we're done and get it rendered. And then the meeting materials, any materials that are presented, we'll have available on the website. And so with that being said, Debbie, go right ahead and I'll put the agenda up for you.
Thank you so much. Jennifer, could you do a roll call?
Yeah, you bet. I'll go ahead and do both by member agency and then by the member name. So if I've forgotten anybody as I go, please let me know. So we'll go ahead and start with Turlock Irrigation District. I have member Montalbano.
Here.
Hilmar County Water District. I have member Juritsma.
I am here.
Delhi County Water District. I have member Maldonado.
Present.
Denair Community Services District. I have member Lindo.
Here.
City of Modesto, I have member Alvarez.
Here.
Waterford for Hickman, I have member Pitcock.
Here.
City of Houston, I have member Velasquez.
Here.
City of Turlock, I have member Gutierrez.
Here.
Stanislaus County, I have member McKinnon.
Here.
And I also have member Smart and member TAC Treasurer Clipper from Turlock Irrigation District as well. Was there anyone that I missed that is a TAC representative for any of the member agencies?
Juan is our new regulatory affairs manager for the city of Turlock. He'll be attending the meeting.
Very good. Very good. Welcome. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the introduction. Okay, very good. Member Montalbano, we have a quorum, and so I'll turn back over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And so I would like to call the meeting to order. First up is public participation. This is the time set aside for members of the public to directly address the West Turlock Subbasin Technical Advisory Committee on any item of interest to the public. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and speak if there are any members of the public who wish to speak. And I don't see anyone. Jennifer, have you seen anyone raise their hand or anything?
You are correct. I do not have any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So the next item would be a budget update. And so that's Michael Clipper.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the I'll start off with the basin account. For August ending August 31st, in the basin account, we had $667,706.48. For the same time frame, for the West Turlock account, we had $154,027.32. Any questions?
Any questions for Michael Clipper? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
The next item is a potential action item, as well as a bit of a demonstration. So I do have a little bit of a screen share. Do I need to do anything? Oh, here we go. Thank you. Sorry, Herb. I think it's this. Does this show up for everyone? I'm just gonna leave it on.
It's up there.
Okay, great. So let's see. It's not on the first slide though. That doesn't matter though. Okay, so what we have today is a potential action item to enable us to contract to move forward with developing a modification to the integrated regional water management database called OPTI to enable the use of it to facilitate a living project list for the GSP. So as we went through development of the GSP, we recognized that the GSP will only be updated every 5 years or so. And with that, you'll update the project lists at that time. But in the interim, we may identify some additional projects that weren't quite fleshed out. For example, when we finished the GSP and we're developing the GSP, and those may be really great projects that may want to facilitate funding moving forward. And so as we developed the GSP, we came up with the idea of using another means of doing that. And so that was the integrated regional water management lists that are being used for both the integrated regional water management planning processes as well as other processes. And so it seemed like a good fit. Our subbasin, coincidentally, is actually within 2 regional water management regions, and those are different lists and entirely different systems. So it doesn't make it as convenient a process as we had initially anticipated, but I think it's doable. So we have, we're in both the East Stanislaus or WIMP region as well as the Merced. And the East Stanislaus covers the majority of the subbasin, but there is a portion, and I'll show you the 2 regions here in a minute, that's in the Merced IRWM area. And we're working with the Merced folks to determine the best approach for that region. Most of that area is on the eastern side of the subbasin. Let me show you the map. So this is the East Stanislaus region. As you can see, the Turlock subbasin is here. It's the Merced River, and then down the Tuolumne River, and then the San Joaquin. The East Stanislaus region extends beyond the San Joaquin River in some areas, and it extends across the Tuolumne River into the Modesto subbasin as well. And also notice that the red line is the East Stanislaus region. It goes along the Merced River, and then it kind of extends up towards the Stanislaus County line. Merced County is down here, Stanislaus County is up here. So it's a bit of an odd region. This area is covered by the Merced IRWN region. But you'll see in a minute, the Merced region also extends along the Merced River, kind of in this area over here. So it's north of the Merced River into the Turlock subbasin as well. So this, and it doesn't come across as well, and I apologize. I kind of cut and pasted the maps this afternoon, but the red line represents the IRWM boundaries. The gray area, the darker gray area, represents Merced County. And so this is the Turlock subbasin here. The East Stanislaus IRWM is up here above the red line. And the Merced River is right here. And so you can see that the red line is a little north of the Merced River, and it extends. So this area is covered by the Merced IRWM, along with that little area along the Merced River. So that kind of gives you an idea of the 2 different regions and how it influences the Turlock subbasin. So the Opti database for the East Stanislaus IRWM is maintained by Woodard and Curran. They can make modifications to enable projects to be tagged as a part of the GSP. And so there's places within the Opti system, and you'll see it in a minute, that you identify what the project is and that sort of thing. And then you'll be able to, if we make this modification, to identify it as being a part of the GSP, and also identifying which county it's in, so that we'll be able to more easily identify if it's possible that the project would be incorporated or should be a part of the Merced IRWM. So a cost would be about $2,500, a little over $2,500, and it would be jointly funded between East and West Turlock. So there is a potential action item. We're recommending that the Technical Advisory Committee authorize the chair to initiate a task order to facilitate this work. It is one of the implementation support activities, and it is included within the budget of the GSA this year. So with that, I would entertain a discussion and a motion. It should that be the wish of the Technical Advisory Committee.
I will motion, Debbie.
Thank you, Leandro. Is there a second?
Gilmore will second.
Thank you, Curtis. Jennifer, is there a need for a roll call? Or
Thank you, Debbie. Since this is a motion, a roll call vote is not required.
okay, thank you. So
You're welcome.
go ahead.
No, you're fine. My apologies. I was just saying you're welcome, and you may have picked up on a little feedback before I muted. My apologies. So at this point, you'll just be able to, ask for all of those in favor and all of those who may be against the item. And then based upon that vote, you'll be able to determine whether your motion is carried.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you. The motion is carried. Okay, and then what we have for you today is also a bit of a demonstration to kind of walk you through how a project can be incorporated into the database. I don't know how many agencies are familiar with that. Projects within the Opti database, as I understand it, are eligible for funding under the Integrated Regional Water Management Planning processes, as well as other funding mechanisms. I think it's used for flood management and other types of things. And so there's a lot of benefits for incorporating projects into the database beyond the Sigma effort. We are encouraging that the different project proponents within with projects within the GSP to incorporate those projects into the Opti database. And so Miguel has some experience with the database and volunteered to give a bit of a tutorial, so to speak, kind of walking through how you get access to the system, as well as how to incorporate projects into the database. And then the idea is to give all the agencies time over the next couple weeks to access the database and identify how it works. And then we'll have another session on the 22nd, which is our next meeting, where you can answer or ask any questions, and we can get answers and those kind of things. So you'll have a second bite at the apple, so to speak. So with that, I will try and stop my screen share. And Miguel, it's all you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First screen I have open is the instructions I will be going through. So if you guys want to take a few seconds and maybe screenshot this, Herb is also going to make it available on the website. I send them an email with this document, but if you want to make a screenshot of it, it's up available right now. And the next screen I'm going to bring over in a few seconds is going to be the website on the first step of the instructions. So on the first step of the instructions, if you're new to this program, you're going to sign up to the Opti system. So here I created a fake account for demonstration. We got Joe Smith at yahoo.com, using with the password we confirm, and then you go ahead and register. And then once you've registered, then you go ahead and put in your username and password you just created. You go ahead and log in. Oh, and of course, let's renew it. And so once you're in for the first time, there's an additional step, which is the second step on your list, which is to update your contact information. So if you go to the add to projects and the add button. So first one was the projects icon, and then the second one is the add button. It's going to prompt you to go ahead and put in, it says before adding a new project, you must be a community member, which is asking you for your contact information. So, let's see, okay. And so here's the information it's going to want, your phone number, organization, your address, state, zip, and city. And once you fill this information, just go ahead and click down here to become a community member. And what will happen at that point, normally we get an email automated to our accounts, but that feature somehow has been turned off. So I added a third step on your instructions to go ahead and send an email to Jim Alves, which I provided his email, and to myself. I went ahead and got access as administration today. So you send us an email, say, hey, I've just created an Opti account. I just put in my contact information. Can you give me access? And we'll go in there and we'll go ahead and provide you the access. At that point, once you have the access, I'm gonna come out of here just to show you what it looks like once you have access. And what I did, I logged in with my account that I do have access with, which is an account I set up years ago. And so when I go to add, it opens up this window. And in here, this is the beginning of adding a project. We have various tabs up here that were originally created up to a certain point for the IRWM projects. But then we added a couple more tabs to tailor it for our stormwater resource plan projects as well. So I'm just gonna open these up and show you. And there's information here you can read regarding some of the information that's gonna, regarding to the information on the IRWM. And there's a few tabs in here that talk about objectives from the IRWM. So I also provided a IRWM website link where you can go in there and look and read up on those objectives, goals and objectives from the IRWM. So when you're answering the questions, if you have the information, you can reference the IRWM to see what they mean by goals and objectives. But I'm gonna go ahead and open these up, and you'll see various selections of boxes. Here you can decide, is it an IRWM and also a stormwater resource plan? Now, an IRWM project is basically everything. Anything that has water is going to be IRWM for the most part. A stormwater resource plan project usually is one where you're trying to put bring in groundwater, bring a project where you're putting water into the ground, any runoff. Most of the projects in our GSPs would probably end up being a stormwater resource plan as well as an IRWM. So in the future, we'll probably have another checkbox where we'll click for the GSP if it's a GSP as well. And then I'm just going to show you a few of the boxes here. Let's see. So it looks like it wants me to start filling them out before it lets me go down to the bottom. Let's see. Okay, so I mean, I could go through all of these, but I'll just stop for a couple of seconds so you can see kind of the different things that they want to capture, informational, you know, what kind of benefits or objectives are we meeting with this type of project. Some of this information was used in the IRWM for ranking the projects. Some of it might have been grant related, where the type of information you want to capture ahead of time so you can put into the grant application. And it's all of it is pretty good information to have at hand. So when a grant does become available, your information is already here. These are a little bit less quantity and more of just general check boxes as far as information, what kind of objectives you have. But further in the rest of the tabs, you might have some where they are asking you for volume or maybe a water quality estimate on how much of a certain contaminant you might be removing. And if you don't have the information, that's fine. And some of these, when I fill them out, I put as much information as I did have at the time. Sometimes you have a conceptual project. Sometimes you have something that has a preliminary design, something that's been designed. At different stages, we'll have projects in here. And so whatever information you do have, just go ahead and put it in. And as time goes on, as your project becomes more developed, you can then go back and put additional information. You can kind of see the theme on IRWM. It's, you know, flood, water quality. And some of these could be sewer projects, storm, a variety. Again, the IRWM was more of an umbrella that brought in almost any water related project into it. And here you can see is as far as where it's at, planning, feasibility. It's if we already have a design, and then if you got estimations of when you can do that. Costs, any costs you might have at this time. Also, we have elements of DAC if you are within a DAC or an SDAC. In this case, they call them EDAs. Little bit on greenhouses, any monitoring or data information that you might be collecting with your project. And here's a few more boxes, but these were tailored again for the stormwater resource plan at the time. And these were, again, tailored more for the stormwater resource plan. Some of this is the kind of stuff they wanted to see in the grant. So we were capturing ahead of time, knowing that these projects were actually going for the next round of implementation at the time. And again, it's all good information. It's always good to know how much water you can recharge and what different kind of benefits you might have out there. And if you can quantify it, it just makes your projects have more points, usually in a grant application. And I know it might seem like a lot, but again, it's only if how developed your project is and how much information. And it's, you know, if you can strive to fill out as many as you can, you just be that further ahead when the time comes. Let me see if I missed anything. No, that's it. As far as the items here, how to get into it. This is the website. How to get into it directly into the screen I showed you when I first opened it. Here's the IRWM, and there's also a method on how to get into the Opti through there as well. If you follow this this pathway, this is the second step. What I say, fill out your contact information, and it's crucial that at this stage to send Jim and me or me an email, because we do not get an automated email like we used to. So go ahead and send us an email and say, hey, we just filled out the contact. We signed up for Opti and we filled out the contact, because filling out the contact is good for just to make sure you know, it is an agency or a legitimate entity that's trying to come into the system. And here you have Jim's email, and you got mine right here. If you have any questions, here's our phone numbers as well. And then when you go to do the projects, this is again a little just a few menus you have to go to get to that part. And then the last piece of it is just fill out as many applicable fields for the information you have. There's more features on here. Like once you're in there, you can start looking to see what kind of projects are out there. If you just want to look at flood projects or maybe flood and environmental, you got that ability to do that. There's different tools and layers that they have in here. You can see the different people that are already signed up or have signed up at one point or another. You got their contact information here. Maybe if you want to ask about one of their projects, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to even see other people's projects, at least the list here and a little bit of the description. Once you're in there, you see this column right here that says IRWMP. It was put in there, but we've never used this. It's an inactive column, so don't worry about if your project doesn't have a checkbox. Nobody's does. It was just a column that never got implemented. And again, you can come in here and look at anybody's project. See if we just click on one here. Just pick the random one. And it might give a little bit of description. I think that's all you get on this first tab. Get a little bit more there, and then you can see some of the information they may have put in here and how they filled it out. So you can even get ideas, maybe wording for your project from other ones, and just kind of see what kind of information has been put in these. And again, you can see who put it in there if you want to contact the individual, learn more, or coordinate. You'll have access to that as well. Okay. Let's see. Documents. You can add documents to the project. This can be probably backup documents. Sometimes for grants, they want to see your technical backup. If you've done reports, PDRs, cost estimates, things of that nature, you can throw in there. If you want to have any notes you want to add to your project, you can do that as well. Let's see. Profile, right? You know what? And I'll take any questions if anybody has questions at this point.
Any questions for Miguel? So, Miguel, as I understand it, the Woodard and Kern with the action that was just approved by the West Turlock, and we would have a similar action from the East Turlock. They would be adding another page of information related to Sigma and the GSP, and that would be another place to add information. But I don't think we have to wait until that gets done, because it may take
Correct.
a couple months to get that completely updated, and at that point in time, we would be in the grant application process. I believe the next Sigma grant should become available sometime in October, and we've been told that it might be a 6-week window for developing the grant application. So so it would be helpful to have projects identified and incorporated into the Opti system now, that you could then just add the additional information about Sigma to that project, because you can edit projects over time as well. And
Correct.
so you could go back in and add the Sigma information at that point. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, that's correct. You can fill out the information that for all the boxes we have now. And in the future, would you just click one more box for GSP, and we might have 1 or 2 tabs for GSP that you can then add whatever GSP is applicable information at that time. And in your description, you can even state that this is a GSP project as well. But I would say, hey, start your project information now, collect everything in there. It kind of helps you also walk down that step of the things they might be asking for in the grant. You know, it does prompt you for a lot of the same stuff that's always wanted by the state or by DWR, by other grant entities. So you're already prepping yourself for questions that might be in the next grant.
That sounds great. Any more questions for Miguel? And again, we'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit about this at the next TAC meeting as well. But if the project proponent agencies could begin the process of getting a login and kind of working through it, then we can, you know, answer those questions as we move forward. Okay, thank you, Miguel. That was very helpful.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next item is item number 6, which is to consider and discuss the round 2 implementation grant. We've talked a little bit about that already. It's going to be, we've already authorized Todd Groundwater to assist the GSAs in developing the grant application. As I understand it, it's going to be a grant that could be between $1 million and $20 million for each for the Subbasin. It's going to be a very competitive grant, and so we are looking to member agencies to identify projects. I think East Turlock is looking at projects. We do have the wells that we've talked about on several different occasions to install a more dedicated monitoring network for the Subbasin. I'm working with other TID staff to identify if there are any projects that TID would propose moving forward, but we're also looking to the other agencies as well to see if there are projects that they would recommend to include. And to be prepared as the grant application comes out, and as we start to identify potential projects and work through the application process, we would like to recommend that the West Turlock Subbasin GSA TAC approve an ad hoc committee comprised, excuse me, of no more than 6 agency representatives from the TAC to assist in the development of a grant application and the associated tasks of pulling that together. That will kind of put us in a place where we can kind of work offline and then report back to the TAC on the efforts and what's being developed. But it'll help facilitate. We've used this process on a couple of different occasions, and it seemed to work pretty well. So if it is amenable to the technical advisory committee, that would be the recommendation. And so I'd open it up for discussion and possible action. Are there any questions or discussion on this particular topic? Okay.
Debbie, perhaps you could
Yes.
explain for the group that if the action is approved today to form the ad hoc committee, what the process would be for identifying members or identifying the agencies that would be able to serve as the ad hoc committee members.
I'm sorry, I probably should have done that.
No, you're
Thank
fine.
you. So what we would do is we would open it up to anyone who within the technical advisory committee who's interested in participating in the process. The process would involve working through and helping to the Todd Groundwater and myself and others in pulling the grant application together, and answer any questions and recommending which projects to recommend back to the GSAs to incorporate into the grant application. It is one application per Subbasin, and it is competitive. And so we're going to have to work through all of that and see what works best. And obviously we'll be coming back to the TAC to get your input, and then to the GSAs to get their input as we move through the process. We like to keep it less than 6 members, or 6 members or less, simply because then it allows us to be a little more agile in setting up meetings and what have you. It would be for this short period of time while we're developing the grant application, and so it wouldn't be an ongoing committee, and it would allow us to schedule meetings as necessary to move through the process. So it would be, like I said, it would be open to any of the TAC members that may have an interest in pursuing and moving forward with this process. So, like I said, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We have had similar ad hoc committees to help develop the GSP, for example, and develop past grant applications. And so this is a similar approach. And should be fairly familiar to the technical advisory committee. But like I said, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Okay.
I can go ahead and make a motions to approve the ad hoc committee up to 6 agency members.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Debbie. Miguel?
Thank you, Miguel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you. I think the motion is carried. Please reach out to me if you have an interest in participating in this process. and we'll add you to the ad hoc list. If we get more than the 6, then we'll work our way through that. That hasn't been a problem in the past, but it could be. So please reach out and let us know. You could reach out to Jennifer or myself or Michael Cook, and we will report back at the next TAC meeting about who's engaged and the process moving forward. Okay, the next action is number 7. It's a task order for on-call services performed by Todd Groundwater. So this item enables us to have some on-call access to Todd Groundwater to address any issues as it comes up as we move through GSP implementation. As we developed the GSP, there was this ongoing relationship, but once the GSP was completed, the process moving forward is more project-based. And so we'll be authorizing various task orders over time. But there's going to be likely a need to reach out to them to ask them a question for something, or if DWR comes to the GSAs with questions about the GSP as they begin to review it, there may be a need to have Todd Groundwater assist with that process. And so we need the ability to fund that work. And so the idea with this task order is to allow for that time. And so we're recommending a small task order that is actually in the amount of just shy of $5,800. It would be jointly funded between both GSAs, and that funding is actually left over from the annual report work that was authorized last year, and we were very frugal with that, and we're able to fund not only the completion of the annual report, but also the submittal of all of the spring water level measurements, and there's still about $5,800 left, just shy of $5,800. And so we'd like to use that existing funding to be able to fund those on-call services and be able to pay for the time if we need it from Todd Groundwater. So sorry, a bit of a long explanation for a short amount of work for a task order, but we wanted to be able to do that because we didn't feel it would be fair to not be able to fund their work if we needed to reach out with them for help for something as we move forward. So this has already been authorized by East Turlock GSA at their last meeting. But since we didn't have a quorum at the last TAC, this was left over from that and moved forward. So I'd be happy to answer any questions there are with respect to that, or to have a motion to move in that direction. Any questions?
So moved.
Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah, we'll second.
Thank you, Leandro. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion carried. I'll go ahead and work with purchasing to initiate that task order. Thank you very much. The last one has to do with the final PEIR. So as we've talked about on several different occasions, the grant that's funding the PEIR, the draft PEIR, the costs came in a little less than we had anticipated. And so we went back to DWR and we got approval for an extension of that grant and the ability to do some additional work. And the additional work includes identifying and doing some preliminary design work for some monitoring wells. And that's currently in task order is in place and it's moving forward. The next one has to do with the final PEIR, and the grant will help fund that work. Depending on the number of comments we receive and how much work is needed associated with developing the final PEIR, it depends on a lot of different things. It's mainly based on the number of comments and the complication associated with pulling all of that together. We may not be able to fund all of the final PEIR with the grant funding. And so we may need to help backstop that with GSA funds. And I think that's okay in that the GSAs had already planned on funding that work. And we had included in this year's budget enough money to do all of the work. And so we're using grant funding to do the majority of it, but there could be some GSA funding somewhere between, I'm estimating anywhere from nothing to up to about $40,000 between both GSAs to complete the process. And so what I would be asking for today is the authority to contract for all of the work, and recognizing that a portion of it may be funded through GSA funding and contributions to complete the final PEIR. If hopefully all of that makes sense. So I would entertain a motion or be happy to answer any questions that you might have related to that item as well.
Oh, motion, Debbie.
Thank you, Leandro. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jaime. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Anyone opposed? Okay, I believe the motion's carried. Also, I wanted to, and I should have said this earlier, but East Turlock has also authorized this work already. So this action will allow us to move forward with finalizing the contracting once we know more about what the final costs are expected to be once the PEIR comment period ends. And that is scheduled to be on the 12th, which is Monday. And with that, we're at item number 9. This is an opportunity for TAC members to discuss and provide updates on issues related to Sigma. Are there any updates from the group? I know I usually give updates, but I don't have anything else at this point.
Debbie, I'll just note from the outreach standpoint that I'm looking here at my other screen, the items that we discussed, you gave a presentation with some slides, and then Miguel gave his demonstration with the document to access Opti and log in. And those 2 items are on the website on today's page, so with links and everything. So if anyone has problem getting to those, they can get in touch with me. on that, but those are up and available. And then I think I had another item I was thinking of. Oh yeah, you mentioned it already. Monday at 5 o'clock on the 12th is the deadline for the PEIR comments for the GSP PEIR. And other than that, I don't think I have anything else to report.
Although I would mention that we did get one set of comments in earlier this week. I haven't read through them all completely, but we'll have a complete report at the next meeting, which would be on the 22nd.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I haven't read through them either, but it's good to know that all of the mechanisms we have in place to submit comments are working, and there's still time if anyone's interested.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much, Herb. Also, you know, we had talked about pulling out that portion of the recording from today's meeting, showing kind of the process and the information for logging in onto the Opti system and sending it out to the technical advisory committees, both East and West. And so we'll go ahead and do that as well. So you'll be seeing that in your inbox. Anything else from anyone? Okay. So the next meeting is on September 22nd at 2 p.m. And with that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Curtis. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you. We'll see you in a couple weeks.